To this day, this lake has claimed over 500 lives, and today I'm going to be telling you about the events and the deaths that led up to the creation of this lake.
If you live in North Georgia, then you know where I am. Lake Lanier has recently become a place of great fear for the public and pain for those that know its past. Since its formation, this man-made lake has claimed the lives of over 500 individuals. Sometimes they're explainable and understandable, but that isn't always the case. In order for us to better understand what makes this lake so terrifying and painful, we must first look into the history of Lake Lanier.
Before there was about 38,000 acres of water out here, there was a town named Oscarville. And in that town there was about 150 black families. They owned the land, they farmed it, and it was in about 1912. A woman was found about 4 miles away from Oscarville, next to the Chattahoochee River. She was attacked and she was killed. Well, even though they didn't have any evidence, they just blamed the people that were nearest to the death. This was the beginning of a lot of bad blood. And depending on the story that you hear, some people say that the families were all paid to leave. Some people say that they were all forced to leave. The story that I found that's most consistent is about 148 of them were paid to leave, and 2 of them were forced out because they didn't want to.
Perhaps the false accusations of murder and the evictions of those that once called this place home could be the catalyst for accidents that some consider to be supernatural.
2 years after the creation of this lake, we would have the first strange accident. 2 young women, Susie Roberts and Delia Parker Young, were driving along this bridge right over here. Unexplainably, they drove off the bridge. 18 months later, a man was out here fishing, and he saw something floating in the water, this large, bloated corpse. And it was Delia, or at least that's what a lot of people assumed, because she was wearing a blue dress just like Delia was wearing whenever they had crashed. Only she was missing both of her hands and a couple of her toes. Now this was most likely the catfish that live in the lake. But what caused the accident? Now 30 years later, another body would be found, and supposedly that's actually Susie Roberts. And that's just the first of many strange accidents that have happened out here.
Real quick, if you're enjoying this video, then go ahead and subscribe because it goes a long way in growing the channel. Thanks in advance, and now back to the adventure. As I wandered around the area looking for ghosts, I ultimately came up empty-handed. Although perhaps they're still sleeping in the lake where it's rumored to hold hundreds of dead bodies. However spooky this may sound, it's actually mostly a myth. That's right, mostly. While the Army Corps of Engineers formed the lake, they would transport the headstones and the bodies of the deceased. However, it is said they were unable to successfully move every single one. I would like to cover more of the history and accidents that have happened here, but it seems as though it would be in poor taste to continuously talk about loved ones that were tragically lost to this lake's history. What I will say though is that a lot of these times, the deaths occur in the most peculiar manner, and it doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon.
And even to this day, people still inexplicably drown. Strong swimmers just lose all of their strength, and those that survive, they say that they feel like something was just sapping the strength out of them. So what could explain that?
Perhaps the restless souls of those wrongfully accused of murder seek justice. Maybe the families that were forced out of their home put enough bad energy into this place to cause the lake itself to become sinister. Or maybe it's the structures that were left behind during its creation. Oscarville is not the only place that sits beneath the surface. Or perhaps we should be a bit more logical in the way we look at this, history aside. Every year this lake has about 11 million visitors. If we pretend that all 500 deaths occurred in a single year with 11 million visitors, that would mean only 0.0045% of the people that would visit this lake would not return. Perhaps this place isn't dangerous at all, but even if that were true, would you risk swimming in Lake Lanier?